Hey guys, what's up? It's Schla, coming back to ya with another episode of Car Rides with Schla. And something pretty bad happened to me yesterday. I don't know if I'm really comfortable getting into the details about it. And I'm okay, it's nothing like that. I'm completely okay. But it's just still something that's very just sad and frustrating. Completely personal. Nobody else being affected or hurt or anything. And but it's moments where I guess it makes you sit back and think, about how I guess it's fine. You know what I mean? I don't know. Sometimes maybe it's good for moments like that. It kind of resets your perspective a little bit, I think. And things could turn out to be good. That just remains to be seen. I don't know. So there's no reason to be too upset yet, but like I said, never really know with these things. But I've just been in such an odd spot recently for a period of time. And I said this was what was coming too. I had said that at the time when I first started Car Rides with Schla, my life was very exciting. Things seemed anticipating. I wasn't working that many hours yet, and I never really thought I would be. And then obviously now I am getting the crazy hours that I never really thought I would get, because things kind of happened to kickstart it, and then it's just been working out. I'm still not going to know, by the way, for a while longer, but I know I said I think it was going to be last week, but I probably won't know for longer what's gonna actually happen with that, but we will see. Still to be determined. There's a lot of things upcoming that are, noteworthy to kind of think about. Like I was talking about the winter. It is worse than the summer, even though I love the cold more. It's worse. I'm probably going to need to have some stuff done to my car for the first time. Not that anything's wrong, but I've never really needed to get any routine maintenance. And I have a feeling I'm going to need a new battery. I mean, it's possible I don't. I'll have my mechanic test the voltage just to double check, but it's around the time where the battery might be going, and since we're heading into the winter, you usually want to be on the side of caution with that. But yeah, on the other hand, the way I use my car, it probably puts very low strain on the battery in the first place. So as for gas, sorry, I just wanted to interject before, so I don't forget. I really think we're going to get gas tomorrow. I'm pretty firm about that it will be tomorrow that we get gas. All right. But yeah, there's a lot of things in my life that I think I really do need to be grateful about. when it comes to my ability to just navigate life, I mean, I've never had any, like, explosive fortune, you know? I've never had any explosive fortune. I've never really been lucky in that sense, but anytime, you know, just for regular life kind of stuff, I don't really know that anything bad's ever really happened, besides maybe in school at certain points. Just trying to think, like, a lot of times my fortune is relatively good. You know, it's not like greedy. I'm not like lucky per se, you know, like I'm not like buying a lottery ticket and just like winning, or, you know, not that kind of luck, but just like a chill, regular life. And that's why I think my recent perspective is as important as it is, because I'm realizing, like, there's no reason to worry about things that haven't happened. It's just exhausting, and it doesn't matter, you know? It's not good for the body to be worried. It's another example, too, of every morning I think, like, oh, wow, I'm really going to be ahead of the game today, and then it's, you know, it's not usually like that. I think I just ended up getting out at the usual time I usually do, but it is a Monday, so fortunately I didn't get too distracted or anything in the morning, and because usually Monday is one of the later days that I get in on average, just because I've explained before, you're like getting used to the week, and it's the first day. I think what I was just thinking about before I got into the car was this thing about, well, first of all, to rewind, my ability to function in day-to-day life, there's just so many extras and so many things that you could argue are priceless. Me figuring out the merino wool, and even though it was really costly, you know, getting it, and the comfort that's come with that is a comfort that, you know, most people never get high quality fabric. They just don't. When it comes to purchasing a car and trying to pick, you know, a reliable and affordable car, I feel like most people in America don't, because I know Honda and Toyota do sell a lot. Obviously they do. But if you combine Chevy, Ford, and all the American brands, I have a hunch that they outsell the Honda Toyota combo, although I don't really think it's by much. I don't really think it's by too much. I'm curious to look into that, though, but that's my conjecture, is like, I still think the American brands all combined probably outsell. But you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it more, there are an awful lot of Japanese brands. There's also, it's not just Honda, Toyota, it's also Nissan, it's also Subaru, and it's also Mazda. So, yeah, maybe a majority of people do end up, no, but you know what? Because then you're not even getting into the European. I would have to conclude that a majority of Americans own a suboptimal car. You know, obviously Toyota or Honda is like the gold standard of car. If you get one of those cars, you're probably going to be spending less money on your car. You're probably not going to have any issues. You're just being like responsible, you know. It's kind of what you should purchase, if you will. And then, you know, there's stages to that. Then you probably have the other Japanese brands that are a little bit less than that. Although I know Mazda recently has gotten high marks for reliability and cost. So that's notable. Nissan, though, while not always having the best reliability, I do think they're fairly affordable. That's kind of how I see their system that they have. I think they're using like the Japanese engineering just for cost, and I'm assuming Nissan parts are like the cheapest. I think so. Just that they have more problems than some of the other Japanese brands, so it brings the total cost to actually be a little bit higher. But I'm pretty sure like a Nissan part is cheaper than a Toyota part. You know, because it's just like cheaper. It's not as... This is a lot of guessing. It's a lot of guesswork right now, but again, I think Honda or Toyota really keeps things for reliability, and then Nissan is thinking more about cost. You know, Nissan, they're really thinking about cost. So there's a difference with that. And then also, I have a hunch, and again, I don't know this to be the case because I haven't really looked into it, but I have a hunch that Nissan might put extra effort into the way their cars look and also the way they're designed, like on the interior, in terms of features or things like that. Like, I know Toyota and Honda are presumably very bare bones. They're not... I don't know that they're designing a car to be like a, you know, necessarily good as like there's, you know, these really nice compartments here or there. Like, I have a feeling it's just more about just making a car that's reliable. And I guess affordable too, but, you know, they're not going to cut corners on affordability. I think Nissan would be very willing to cut corners for affordability. The other problem too is when there's not a lot of traffic, I just drive very chill. I honestly drive slower. That's why, like, it's crazy to me that, like, I don't like to drive fast. I don't know why. I honestly don't. I don't know why people like to drive fast. Like, I really like driving slow. It's just nice. I think it's nice to drive slow. You know, and when you're not being impatient about it, then it's all good. You know what I mean? Like, I guess that's how you have to take life, really. That's just how you have to take life. You can't go too crazy with things. Which is not how I've been. I mean, I've been crazier with things in life. For sure. I'm patient, but, you know, just impatient about getting started, I guess. And then now, I wonder if I jumped the gun. You know, there's kind of that. Well, no, I mean, I'm not gonna say that I jumped the gun. I mean, that's a little bit silly, but you know, I obviously just should have appreciated where I was at in life and not really thought too much about it. Sorry, I just got lost in my thoughts for a second there. I'm a little bit disappointed because I went to bed earlier than usual yesterday by about 35 minutes. And yeah, it's annoying because it kind of ruined my streak. So, I don't know. I'm not too thrilled about it. Although I do kind of feel better, so I kind of wonder about that. You know? But well, I guess we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll shift to be a little earlier. I just like to have it where I had it because it puts a little extra insurance for if there ever is a problem. I can, if for whatever reason I end up getting to bed later, it lines up. That's kind of why. But I have a feeling I'm a pretty early guy. I'm very into being early. I don't really remember what I was getting at with this conversation. I got distracted, right? I started talking about cars. So let's rewind. Let's stay on topic. I would say most people in America have a suboptimal car, which means it's either European or it's American, and the car ends up being like costlier than average. So, below average cost is probably Toyota, Honda, Mazda, and maybe Nissan. But again, Nissan's a little tricky because I think some Nissans could be pretty expensive still because if they have a lot of problems. But for the most part, I would say, and Subaru's also I think the most expensive of the five. So it maybe it's still cheaper than average, but I know Subarus are a little costlier. But yeah, I mean, those brands are probably below average, but I really think every other brand pretty much is going to be above average in cost. And then, so you're, people driving like suboptimal vehicles, and then you also have suboptimal ways of getting things fixed. So if something goes wrong with it, a lot of people have to go to the dealer. They don't necessarily have like a small store mechanic or whatever. So then you run into usually extra cost there. Like they're not gonna be super fair about getting things fixed. And yeah, so there's a lot of like inefficiencies, and I've never been subject to any of that. I've always just been good. So, it's a huge deal, really, just to be grateful for that. It is. I mean, I don't know. Just like how bad things could be, and they're not. I think it's something to keep in mind. And that was kind of my point with that. Is that I don't have like a suboptimal car. Like I assume most Americans do. I assume. Again, I'm not really sure, but I just assume that most Americans end up with a suboptimal car due to, I don't know, a myriad of factors. Inability to research well, picking things for design, the usual kind of human errors that we observe and run into. I was very confident about... No, I think I will have to get gas tomorrow, just the way it's going to fall. I don't know. Oh. What I was thinking about... Yeah, we'll finally get to the topic, just past all the noise. What I was thinking about before I got in the car is... I think a lot of people don't really understand the nature of reality properly, and that actually ends up being a good thing. The lack of awareness. Because for me, I kind of see how things work. People complain about work, people don't want to work. But then, I think most of the time, then when people don't have to work, they don't really know what to do with themselves. And most people are like this. I mean, we complain about needing to go to school or work, and then after a while you miss having to go to school and work. You don't know what to do with yourself. Very common. I don't know that it's... I'm not talking about me, I'm not talking about you. I guess I'm just referring to you as a broad segment of the human population. That's kind of what I'm thinking of. And yeah, I don't know how early I'm going to be, because just don't know right now, even though I was hoping to be. Just wasn't driving fast, and then because I just never do when there's no cars behind me. What was I talking about? See, now I forgot. Oh yeah, it's like about awareness of things. I mean, most people complain and then they get excited for the weekend. And the reason why is because I had that common thought in my head of, the weekends are never long enough, and the week is never short enough, But it's all perspective. It's really all perspective. And it's just a shame that I was given such an easy childhood, because it didn't prepare me for the harshness of what somebody has to go through. when they're young, which is working a lot, and you're at the point where you're presumably getting paid your lowest. Although really, I think I already explained that's gonna be kind of a myth for most people, because money's probably going to continue to deteriorate. So unless you like really surged up a career, you're probably making the most money now in terms of purchasing power, because purchasing power keeps going down. So even by the time you are 50 or 40, when you finally land like a better job, maybe if you're lucky, 30. Something like that, it's still your actual money value will still be lower. You're not going to win. And I even think about that too, where it's like, well, even with the raises, usually raises are not enough to cover the cost of living increase. So it doesn't add up. It doesn't really make any sense. So it's a shame, but like I said, companies probably just do what they can get away with. It's not based off of actual cost of living. They just conspire with other employers to, oh, you're only paying them this much? Yeah, I'll only pay that much as well. Which I think, you really could make the argument, if a place wanted the best people, then it would. It would pay more, and then you'd attract a higher clientele of people seeking jobs from your company. But anyways, sorry. The awareness thing, I think it kind of makes things more painful. Like, I understand that complaining is just like completely useless, and that's a bit of a painful comprehension, right? Because everybody complains, everybody loves to complain, but they do so blindly. And I do as well. Like, I catch myself doing the same thing. And then you realize it's like, well, I mean, you're complaining about being at work, but if you weren't at work right now, what would you actually be doing? How would you be feeling better? It's just, these are kind of the questions that, you really ponder, and they're true. And you can see the truth, and not everybody can. Not everybody can see that comprehension of things. What was I getting at? Not everybody can see that comprehension of things, so they kind of end up in that more diluted state. That state where they can just complain, and that's it. They don't necessarily realize the inner workings of how a lot of times complaints are just vanity, and then like you don't really want to never work again because then you wouldn't know what to do with yourself, even though there's a lot of people who would think that they would want to not work. They wouldn't do anything with themselves. They probably wouldn't be happy if it wasn't for the work that they do. And so all that stuff is important. But people don't understand it, and I think that makes life easier. Like, there is kind of a ease in knowing that everything's fine. Or everything's okay, and you don't have to think so difficult about things, you know? You don't have to think about things with such difficulty. The longer time goes on, I think I get more numb in a good way. I begin to be calm, to react less. It's what I feel. I feel less. But I think there's a comfort and a convenience in just not having the awareness of all that stuff. And just thinking that what you're complaining about is actually valid. You know, the things that you complain about, your complaints in life. Sorry, there was just like a bunch of car stuff that just went down. I mean, nothing actually happened, but yeah, just definitely like a bunch of people driving a bit crazy. I don't know. But like I said, nothing bad happens. So it's good the drivers are that good. Where were we? Yeah, there's just, I think there's just like a comfort in not knowing, and I think that's why people don't like a lot of the things I bring up, because I always just wanted to know. I always just wanted to learn, and I don't think that I ever really thought about it much, you know? I just never did. Like, I just loved learning, and it's something that most people hate. You know, most people hate learning, and they want to just be able to, you know, but I've kind of figured out, I've figured out how things operate, and it's pretty interesting how things are. Very interesting. It's really all I have to say about it. But there's a comfort. There's obviously a comfort in just being able to complain and being at peace with that, and not having to think about how, well, technically you're complaining now, but then if you were home, then you'd be complaining again, and there's a cycle. And so it's a very tricky spot to be at in life, but then at the same time, I think it opens up to why maybe concepts like the law of attraction kind of make sense to me, because I kind of see that that's like the nature of the cyclical nature of things, and how it's all kind of a bunch of like silly, like it's not, it's all pretty silly. It's none of it is like that real or anything. A lot of it is like perspective issues or perspective flaws, and then it's like hard. It's a lot of stuff that's hard to even convey tangibly. How much material and material wealth does matter. It does improve mood. It does make your life better, but then it also still doesn't. You can also make the argument that it is really all just perspective, and it's all there really is to it. Like, it's, you can get richer or less rich, and it doesn't really change much about things. It's just, everything's the same. Everything's fundamentally the same, even with or without the material. It's just getting exposed to things and getting spoiled or not being spoiled. It's all stuff that, wow, my phone is very dead. I have no idea how that happened. The phone I used to... Yeah, that's weird. It's never happened before. I don't know how... Yeah, I don't understand that. Because it wasn't on. It's not like it was left on over the weekend or something. Very weird. Hope nothing is wrong with it. Alrighty. Very good, very good, very good. And yeah. Ended up making just a very normal time. Like I said, I think a lot of it had to do with my very relaxed driving that I was doing, because that usually ends up happening when, you just wonder. Yeah, I don't understand how this battery drained so much. It's very strange. Very strange. I mean, I had forgotten to charge it, but it was at 30-something%. It should not be at 18. It's never done that before. Wi-Fi was not left on, and it was not, nothing was happening to it. So I don't understand how that could have occurred. I didn't use it. I mean, even if I had left it on or something, that wouldn't have drained that much. I don't know what happened with that. It's just weird. Not really a good sign either. But I wish I would have remembered to charge it. Obviously, you know, like if I knew it was going to be that crazy. So, but what can you do? What can you do? Well, I'd say that it's been schla, but now it's time to buy schla. So, see ya schla.